magic to the phrase radical Islam. It's a political talking point. It's not a strategy. And the reason I am careful about how I describe this threat has nothing to do with political correctness and everything to do with actually defeating extremism.
All right. My next guest says not only is the president wrong on that point, but the first step to defeating radical Islam, you got to name it. Refuse and you end up increasing fear and hysteria. He calls it the Voldemort Effect. I wouldn't know what that is. I don't watch Star Wars. Joining us once again from London, Maajid Nawaz. He's a former Islamist who spent time in an Egyptian prison. Who hasn't? He's now doing yeoman's work as an outspoken critic of Islamism and a regular speaker on the roots of radicalization. He's also the co-founder and chairman of Quilliam, a counter-extremism organization. Maajid, thanks for joining us. I know it's very late out there.
Yes, it is. You can pay me back later.
So I always wonder, because what you're doing now has to put you in a bit of danger. Do you travel under a pseudonym? Do you often worry about your own health?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, but look, anything that I'm facing now in terms of consequences for my work isn't anything that I haven't faced in my Islamist years when I attempted to incite an uprising against Hosni Mubarak in Egypt and face torture in his dungeons. I mean, so one becomes accustomed to it. I've known a life of violence from the age of 15 onwards, so it's not really... Obviously, I take caution. I'm very careful in telling people where I am and how what my travel plans are, but at the end of the day, I've always been driven by a passion for what I believe in, and I haven't let anyone telling me not to stand in the way.
Well, just in case, I came up with some pseudonyms for you. Some names you could travel under: Sven Hotman, Clive Pex, pretty good. Dirk Harder, you like that? All right, enough of this silliness. Why is the president, I'm trying to figure out, he's a smart guy, why is he so stubborn on this particular point?
Yes, you induced the Voldemort effect earlier, just to explain that for some people who perhaps may confuse it with Star Wars.
Yes.
The point is that in the Harry Potter novels, J.K. Rowling uses this very intelligent device of the evil character whose name Voldemort, the people are so scared of, they're so petrified, that two things happen. One is they can't even bring themselves to admit that Voldemort is alive, and two, even if he were to be alive, they cannot bring themselves to name him. That's how scared they are of the bad guy. So instead they refer to him as he who must not be named. And it takes a small child called Harry Potter, no analogy intended, to have the courage to then actually utter Voldemort's name and insist he's alive. Now, what I see President Obama doing, and I caveat this very carefully by saying, I speak as a liberal, I speak as a Muslim. In fact, I ran as a Liberal Democrat parliamentary candidate here in London and lost. But my critique of Obama isn't partisan. I am just fed up. I am entirely exhausted by the obfuscation, the denialism, the double standards in this debate. President Obama is playing politics with evil. He is so scared of offending people that he would rather assassinate people without any accountability. So he has a kill list. Everyone knows he has a kill list. He'd rather send drones illegally into countries. He'd rather arbitrarily detain than actually offend a Muslim. That's the situation that liberals find themselves in today. And frankly, as a liberal, I'd rather offend someone than send out people to assassinate them without due process. I'd rather have that civil society debate. And the only way I can have that, by the way, is naming exactly what I'm challenging. Why is it that we're able to name Nazism the National Socialist Movement, in other words, known as Nazism? Why is it we're able to name communism? Why is it we're able to name all forms of ideologies? When it comes to this one, somehow the standards that we have, where we say you must give evil a name, fall by the wayside, and instead we play politics with evil. And it's incredibly dangerous. The people that suffer from this, Greg, are minority Muslim members of the minority communities, the minorities within those. I call them the minority within the minority, right? So that's the gay Muslims, the feminist Muslims, the liberal secular Muslims, the ex-Muslims. You know, all of these are minorities within the minority Muslim communities who are struggling to have a voice and clearly, Orlando demonstrates they are facing severe discrimination and prejudice. We've got to be on their side in winning this theological reform debate within Muslim communities, and that means providing them with a lexicon so they can have that argument. If you deny them that lexicon, you're denying them a language with which to even have that argument, so it only increases the hysteria, as the analogy with the Voldemort effect demonstrates in the Harry Potter novels. It only increases the paranoia, and of course then you're going to witness a backlash.
Maajid, I have to say that you answered every single one of my questions with one single answer. I got to roll. I got to go now because you just when you look at just one brief answer. When you look at the political candidates that are running in America, who do you think best addresses this problem?
Oh, listen, I'm really...
It's Trump, isn't it? I know you don't want to admit it.
Look, to make it very clear, okay, I'm no supporter of Trump. I know you are, and this is I'm on Fox at the end of the day. But I am exasperated. I really am genuinely frustrated. I feel that these guys have it's a betrayal. I call it the great liberal betrayal.
Yeah.
They have betrayed secular, liberal, reformist Muslims, and I will not forget this betrayal.
All right, Maajid, thank you so much. Look forward to having you on again. All right, coming up, I fry an egg on my head and share it with the audience. But first, a new poll shows many of us are unhappy with both presidential candidates. Good thing there are plenty of primary states that still have to vote, right?